All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. You have to bear with me this evening as I'm shaking off the rust here a little bit. We will move to the consent agenda with item 2.1, the roll call. Please note that Tammy Riber is not present this evening. We'll go to item 2.2, conflicts of interest. Are there any to report at this time? Seeing none, we'll move to item 2.3 with review and approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
I move approval of the agenda.
Motion by Jean. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Iverson. All those in favor? Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, item 2.3 is approved. Item 2.4, the approval of the minutes from the April 10th and May 1st, 2023 board meeting. Is there a motion?
I move. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Lohr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Moulton. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 2.5, we will receive our financial reports from April 2023.
Thank you. In the General and Special Education Fund, the revenue was moderate, consisting of taxes along with the regular state aid payment. Federal revenue in the amount of $452,000 was received in relation to title funding. The financials in May will reflect an increase to taxes as property taxes payable in 2023 are noted to be received, as well as federal funds in support of IDEA special education costs. The ending cash position reflects an anticipated decrease over the previous year. Capital outlay received typical tax proceeds in the amount of $320,000. Expenditures were moderate, but will pick up in the coming months as activity on phase 1 of this stadium project has begun. K-12 enterprise funds were moderate for the month of April, activity picking up in the funds of driver's education with tuition for the summer program continuing collection. Program costs will take place in May and June. K-12 nutrition services had revenue and expenditures in the fund. They were moderate for the month with expenditures slightly exceeding revenue. The ending cash balance in this fund is below that of the previous years as the operation purchased updated equipment throughout the year to assist in drawing down funds with the requirement of the fund balance to operate below 3 months of operating expenditures. We continue to work with families to keep negative lunch accounts at a minimum and encourage the filling out of free and reduced applications, even as the school year comes to a close, as this assists families coming in for the following school year. The revenue during the month was relatively moderate and consists of several different sources in the fund of LATC. Expenditures include $1.2 million paid out for construction in progress on the Diesel and Archway projects. Funding on these projects is received from both House Bill 1031 state dollars and contributions from the foundation expected to be received in May and June. LATC Enterprise Fund activity was moderate for the month. The Employee Benefit Trust had premium and administrative costs during the month of April slightly exceed claims. The ending cash balance in this fund remains at a healthy level to support future liabilities, but does reflect a decline. The fund will see an increase to premiums in FY24 as premiums for the single plan will increase by $55 and family by $110. I would be happy to answer any questions should you have any.
Heidi, what is the approximate balance of the negative school lunch fund account?
We are sitting just under $5,000 for district-wide.
Is that normal?
It is. That's typically where it operates, especially as we get closer to the end of the school year. One reminder is we had that full payout in lunch accounts a couple months ago, so that greatly assisted those families.
So it could have been worse.
Yes.
Thank you to that anonymous person.
Yeah, we had that anonymous
Yes,
donation.
All right, we'll move to item 2.6. Thank you, Heidi. Item 2.6, student staff recognition.
Awesome. I've got some basketball players to honor tonight. We've got our academic all-state basketball players here this evening. We'll start with the girls, and so if you want to come up when I call your name. I've got Named to the Academic All-State for girls basketball are Kendall Paulson, Maddie Rohde, and Jada Young. Stay right there, girls, just so we can get you both together on that. And our academic all-staters for boys basketball, Jack Hesch, Dalton Bomberger, and Isaac Redfield.
Congratulations. Stay right there.
Congratulations. Before our next regular board meeting, we will also honor our seniors at graduation, May 28th, 2 o'clock. Another note, it is Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week this week, May 8th through the 12th. We thank all of our teachers and our staff in the Watertown School District for the work they do, and a big thank you. We've also had good participation from local businesses and rewarding some of those folks, so appreciate that too. And then one other note in the student staff recognition, we are honoring our retirees on May 17th. Right here in the Watertown High School Commons from 3:45 to 5 o'clock with an open house reception that is open to the public. So come and give a congratulations to the retirees from the Watertown School District this year.
Great. Thank you. Moving to item 3.1 with Lake Area Technical College. We'll start with if there's anyone from the public to speak on agenda or non-agenda items. Not seeing anyone, we will invite President Sanderson to come and talk about item 3.2 with the Lake Area Tech update.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. I've got an update for you all in terms of graduation and what's coming this Friday, May 12th, for the 56th annual graduation ceremony at Lake Area Technical College. Here, we'll have you move forward and invite the public to join us. Tickets are available through our office. The ceremony itself will take place at 4 p.m. in the Civic Arena. About 900 students are eligible for graduation. There are some final projects and things being turned in this week, and that number will continue to get honed in through Friday. But during the ceremony, we'll recognize our retirees, and from your board action in February, also recognize past presidents Deb Shepard and Mike Cartney as presidents emeritus for Lake Area Technical College. And during the ceremony, we'll be joined by a true champion of technical education and a cheerleader and the man behind, in many ways, the Bill Dakota Scholarship, and now the namesake of the Archway that's under construction, Dana Dykehouse. And he always has interesting and inspirational words to share, so looking forward to having him be part of our ceremony this week. After the ceremony here at Civic Arena, we'll transition across the street and invite folks to join us for beverages and desserts in the student commons till about 7 o'clock. So that's all happening this Friday, May 12th. And Derek, I'll have you move forward. These numbers are approximate as all of the graduation details are coming together. What you see on the screen before you is a snapshot of the class of 2023. These are the home states of students who are completing either diplomas, one-year programs, or degrees, the two-year programs. And if you were to consider in all of our long-term certifications that students also are receiving this week, our students will represent 5 countries and U.S. territories and 19 states. If we flip one more slide and hone in on South Dakota, you'll see that our graduates come from nearly every corner of South Dakota. Almost every county is highlighted. These represent 185 unique communities or zip codes within the state of South Dakota. So looking forward to honoring all of them. Of our graduates, more than half of them received scholarships. 146 were on full rides through the Bill Dakota Scholarship, and 413 of them received additional scholarships. Amongst our graduates, 12 served the United States did serve as veterans. While they've been on campus, 76% of our students have been employed, and what's really impressive is the 42% that you see on the screen, and that's our graduates who have been working 20 or more hours per week here in the area. So not only do we congratulate our graduates who are completing their diplomas, degrees, long-term certifications, after their time here in Watertown, but appreciate all the employers from around the community and the area who have employed our students throughout their educational experience. And all of that work, whether that's in the classroom or in the community, was accompanied by great levels of service between students and our faculty. Over 100,000 hours contributed over the last couple of years in the class of 2023, so that's appreciated very much. And just to share with you some of the trends for graduates from Lake Area Tech over time, this will be a very large graduating class. Again, that 932 is an approximate, still honing in on all of the final numbers there, but it is the largest class to date, and we're going to fill up every corner of the Civic Arena on Friday, and so we'll need to consider if we need to continue with one ceremony or more than one ceremony in the future, which is a great problem to have, but that's a quick snapshot at the class of 2023, and Mr. Chairman, I'll stand by for any questions that the board might have.
Aren't there only 2 universities that have larger graduating classes than?
That's right. We believe that we're the third largest
Third largest.
undergraduate ceremony in the state after SDSU and USD.
Wow. Wonderful.
Wow. Okay, thank you. We will move along to personnel with item 4.1 with resignations, please.
Very good. I believe you've got a blue sheet in your updated stack in front of you, and that's what I'll be referencing as I go through the personnel items tonight. For your consideration, we have 7 individuals who have submitted resignations to us, and Mr. Chairman, I would encourage the board's approval of those resignations.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the resignations as presented?
I will make a motion to approve the resignations.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Lohr, a second by Moulton. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4.1.2, contract recommendations and addendums.
Before you are 5 contracts, 6 contract amendments for adjuncts, and 1 temporary part-time intern position for a student, and 1 corporate education contract. I'll stand by for questions, but encourage the board's approval as presented.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the contract recommendations and addendums?
I will make a motion to approve the contract recommendation and amendments.
Motion by Lohr, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Iverson. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item 4.1.3.
Before you are the credit stipend requests for 5 of our faculty who are pursuing higher degrees. We've got 1 individual pursuing a bachelor's degree, several with master's, and 1 with a doctorate, and I encourage the board's approval.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the stipend requests?
Make a motion to approve the stipends.
Motion by Lohr, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Moulton. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item 4.1.4, consider key personnel change for SDMTS.
This is a follow-up, Mr. Chair, on April's action by the board to approve, at that time, Diane Stiles as our lead contact for the South Dakota Manufacturing and Technology Solutions Center. In 2 weeks, Michelle Kakachik will be joining us as the executive director for the MTS Center at Lake Area Tech. We're excited to have her on board, and she will be the lead contact for all things MTS with the Federal NIST office and with our staff spread throughout the state. Just a reminder that MTS Center is a service organization for small and mid-sized manufacturers in South Dakota, providing consultation and training services to our manufacturing community, and really looking forward to having her on board and continuing to grow that staff so that we can serve the manufacturing community and make use of all the great facilities and equipment that we have here at Lake Area.
Okay, is there a motion to approve as presented?
I will make a motion to approve the request to change the South Dakota MTS.
Okay, we have a motion by Lohr, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Iverson. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We will move into property at 4.2.1 with consider equipment leases.
There are 2 equipment leases before you for our heavy equipment operator program, 1 for an excavator and 1 for a dozer, and appreciate both of these companies providing us discounted lease agreements to ensure that our students are trained on equipment that is valued at very high dollars and would make that program even more expensive than it is. So these lease agreements allow us to take new or barely used equipment, use them as training instruments for our students for short terms during the period of the program that they're needed, and then return those. And so thank those employers or those businesses for reaching these low-cost agreements for us on the leases.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the leases as presented here?
I move that we consider 4.2.1 the equipment leases.
Motion by Iverson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Moulton. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Very much. Okay, we will keep moving along to discussion items here with item 5.1. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak on an agenda or non-agenda items? Now would be your time to come forward. Okay. We'll move to item 5.2, Northeast Technical High School report.
Yes, thank you. The Board of Superintendents did meet on May 2nd, kind of discussed end of year activities as well as startup for next year. And then Northeast Tech had their project day on May 3rd. Another successful year from Northeast Tech, so we appreciate that work that Mr. Fallick does over there, and all the students that get the opportunity to attend Northeast Tech. And then remind those on the board that we meet again on May 17th at 5:45.
Okay. Thank you. Item 5.3, high school graduation report.
Good evening. We have a very busy month here going off at the high school with our 2023 graduation commencement. As Dr. Danielson said earlier, that will take place Sunday, May 28th at 2 p.m. at the Civic Arena. This year we're expecting 266 graduates, with 21 of those being early graduates and 17 of those are walking. And then we have 2 juniors that are early grads, and both of those students are walking as well. What to expect with our ceremony, we will have Dr. Danielson speaking as well as myself. We have two groups of students that will be speaking, and then we also have a faculty member giving a speech this year. We will have music provided by our symphonic band and our Meister singers, so we're excited for that. Just another plug for, we have our seniors awards night tomorrow night at 6:30 in D.D. Miller, giving away over 100 scholarships, and really you can see how deep Watertown Aero Pride goes in with the amount of money that comes back through for our students and continuing with their education. So. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll move to item 5.4, presentation of the preliminary 2023-24 budget, please.
Okay. The 23-24 preliminary budget was discussed in detail at the budget work session held on Monday, May 1st, in which the board members and administration had the chance to thoroughly review, ask program questions, and discuss in level of detail. Board members have been provided a hard copy of the budget, and the PDF version can be found on the district's website. The presented preliminary budget to operate the Watertown School District for the 23-24 school year is in the amount of $128,660,110. This is an increase of 3.85% from the previous fiscal year. Lake Area Technical College makes up 49% of the district's budget at $47 million. The main operation of Lake Area Technical College saw an increase of 3.42%. Salaries and benefits make up the majority of the budget at 39%, followed by construction, land, and buildings at 32%. Salaries received a 7% increase in order to follow legislative expectations, with funding under the state noted to increase by 7%, with indication of a tuition freeze to tuition. Construction for LATC includes the diesel expansion. This is a $8.1 million budget indicated to open in the fall of 2023. And the Dana J. Dykehouse Business Center of Learning, otherwise known as the Archway Project, that is a $21.9 million project, noted to open in the fall of 2024. The preliminary budget also includes budgetary information related to the LATC enterprise funds of bookstore services, nutrition services, and daycare. For the K-12 side, enrollment projections indicate a decrease of 250 students spanning over the next 5 years. Prediction of incoming class sizes are ranging from 230 to 250, with graduating classes of 300 to 350, and in turn creating a decline in enrollment. Focus on elementary efficiencies and needs have been discussed in the past. We currently operate 5 elementary buildings. We have 2 3-section schools and 3 2-section schools, which allows for sectioning of 12 per grade, using the caps of 24. Full sections would be a grade spans of 288. Enrollment at 230, which is where our grades are coming in at, allows for flexibility of 10 sections. K-12 enterprise funds, K-12 enterprise funds, including services for nutrition services, concessions, driver's education, and preschool services, total $2.5 million. Nutrition services noted as the largest enterprise operation for K-12 at $2.3 million. The budget for K-12 nutrition service anticipates an increase to lunch and breakfast prices to maintain the rate of inflation. 55% of this operation is funded by federal funds under the USDA free and reduced application process. In the capital outlay fund, this fund makes up 11% of the overall budget and is an increase of 6.35% from the previous year. Use of cash reserves in the amount of $4.4 million, with Stadium Phase 2 budgeted at $6.5 million, and we await the bids for that project. Other significant items are the high school laptop rotation at $1.5 million, which is offset through ESSER $3, as well as the transfer out to the general fund in the amount of $600,000. The property tax levy is estimated at $2.522. Please note that the tax levy for capital outlay is limited to growth plus a 3% limitation that states the total amount of taxes collected from the capital outlay levy cannot increase annually or more than 3% plus the growth factor. Areas to highlight within the capital outlay fund include the transfer into the general fund, which is maintained at 45% of the property taxes received. This would be for the district an allowable transfer of $3.2 million, and what we have budgeted for this coming year is $600,000. We will increase back to $1.2 million in FY25 as ESSER funds drop off. The district would only be able to sustain $1.5 to $2 million of a transfer and is also dependent on the 5-year capital outlay plan. Another notation within the capital outlay fund is the limitation on issuing debt. We have an allowable debt issuance of $75 million. Our current principal debt for the Watertown School District is $35 million or 1.42%. The district would only be able to sustain an additional $500,000 annual payment. Estimated of debt issuance is, and that would be an estimated debt issuance of $8 to $10 million. The 5-year capital outlay plan is also included within the preliminary budget, which identifies several projects and building improvements along with other expenses accommodated by this fund over the next 5-year span, as well as notation of fund balance considering income to expenses. And that's that following slide there. Special education sees an increase of 5.14% in a total budget of $8,262,996. Local support makes up 52% of this budget, state support at 35%, with federal support following at 13%. The legislator set the levy in the special education fund at 1.574. The individual disability categories of the state aid formula were adjusted to reflect a more accurate cost per disability. The preliminary budget projects that the revenue will be exceeded by the expenses in this fund in the amount of $310,000. Within the general fund, kind of going back to the enrollment drives the operation in the general fund as 80% of the generated revenue is based on the current funding formula for general education. The formula is based on the target statewide average teacher salary. By statute, the target teacher salary is set to increase annually by the consumer price index or by 3%, whichever is less. Although the current general education funding formula is based on a target teacher salary, it can be converted back to a per student amount, called a per student equivalent. The PSE for FY24 can be converted to $7,120, so that's $7,120 per student. During the 2023 legislative session, Governor Newsom signed Senate Bill 24 into law, reflecting a proposed 7% increase in state aid funding for general education. Taking into account the estimated fall enrollment for the district, the general fund operation is noted to receive a 6.55% increase to revenue generation, or $1.6 million in what we would reference as new money for that formula. The general fund budget reflects a 2.93% increase with a total proposed budget of $31 million. Revenue supports are made up of 41% local and 47% state. followed by 7% in federal support and 5% in use of cash on hand and the transfer in from capital outlay. The FY24 budget calls for the use of cash reserves in the amount of $849,000, with an ending fund balance projection estimated at $5.9 million, or 19.06%. The budget hearing will be set for July 10th, 2023 at 5 p.m., in which the 23-24 budget will be brought forth to the board and approved budget adoption will take place. Thank you, and I would be happy to answer any questions should you have any.
What percent did you say comes from the state?
In general fund,
Yeah.
that is 47% state.
Got it. Yeah. Got it. Yeah, I know. Somewhere here. I got it.
Any other questions for Heidi? Okay, we will thank you, Heidi. Appreciate the time and effort that goes into this. We will move to item 5.5, first reading of the policies. 5.5, 5.5.1, the JICK.
Yes, that is our probation of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And while we have this in practice, we needed to indicate this in policy that students may report bullying anonymously through the process that's established at individual school buildings. So we needed to add that to our policy. And then GCLA, the Instructional Staff Day. We have been working with WEA on a memorandum of understanding the past 2 school years, where we amended the workday. Typically it is 8 to 4, and we added a staff meeting each week that adds about 15 minutes to that 8 to 4, and in return then staff can leave at 3:40 on Friday. So we agreed through the negotiations process to make that permanent. So there it is in policy. So both of those would be first readings, put out on the website for public comment, and then brought back in June for a second reading for your approval.
Okay. All right. Dr. Janison, can I have you field a question on the GICK?
Oh, absolutely.
And bullying
Yes.
topic? The board recently received an email regarding bullying.
Okay.
And curious if you could provide an overview of again, the policy or the policy of what the district is for bullying and how that is administered from your level and followed through on, and to ensure consistency.
Yeah, one of the things the big thing to determine whether it's bullying or not is it repeated in nature? That is a big determining factor at the building level. We count on our teachers and our principals to kind of make that determination at the building level. And then we did, one of the things last year we did was update our discipline matrix that is synced way more distinctly between all the 5 elementary schools, and then kind of adds progression as they go to the intermediate school, middle school, and the high school. And so we were trying to establish some consistency with regards to how that is administered. Obviously, there is the human element that may come up with regards from a parent may see it differently when they come in to visit with the teacher or the principal than what the staff on site see it as, and that might be where some of the discrepancies come from. But from a consistency standpoint, when that investigation takes place, we're trying to administer the discipline as consistently as we can, and then that it's up to the staff at the building level that should communicate that with regards to the parents and administer it with students, or if there are consequences that need to be happening.
What advice would you suggest parents? What advice would you give to parents that are in those tough situations where eyes are viewing situations differently? How do we approach that?
Yeah, from a parental side, I mean, we would still urge as much work with, if it's happening in the classroom, working with that teacher to find out the full situation of it within the classroom, or if it's a recess violation or something like that, where, the nearest possible source first. Obviously, if it goes beyond where it's, it involves the bus, the classroom, recess, and you start getting into a bigger picture, working with that principal, and then, you do have the option to keep coming, up the ladder, so to speak. The problem from the district level is, trying to work through that problem when you have no direct involvement with the student and the families, at least at the, on a daily basis. It's more difficult to work through that. But I mean, then I guess if it comes to that, there could be a formal complaint filed, which would then work its way back at that lowest level, work its way through to the school principal, and then up to the district level, which could eventually make it to the school board if that's how strongly someone feels about it. But I would like to think that we can find some mutual agreement, but I understand, when your child is hurting, it's hard for a parent to, work through that as well when you see your child come home and feel like there's been some wrong done there, but know that we have caring staff who are also looking out for that. And I think sometimes, the situations aren't always as explained. Many times there's a school version and a student version, and sometimes those don't match up, and at least allowing each side to hear the other out is probably part of what we would want to see happen, meaning the parent and the child are able to listen to the school side and vice versa, to hear, because sometimes we don't know everything that's going on with the student, and past history, those kind of things, or outside affiliations that might come into play. Social media is another area that tends to cause problems that come into the school that had nothing to do with the school and school itself, but they get drug in and cause issues during the day. So having the conversation is helpful, but I do realize there are going to be times when we don't always agree on how the situation should be administered.
Thank you, Dr. Denson. Putting you on the spot there.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
Appreciate that. Okay, we will move along to item 6.1, approval of the bills. Is there a motion to approve the bills, please?
I move we approve the bills.
Motion by Moulton, second by Iverson. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, bills have been approved. Item 6.2.1, retirements and personnel.
One retirement for you this evening, and would recommend that approval.
Is there a motion to approve the retirement as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the retirement.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Lohr, second by Iverson. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that retirement has been approved. Item 6.2.2, resignations.
For use list of resignations that we've received over the last month. And today, so we've got some additions on the green sheet that you provided. Obviously tough to see all those resignations. Working on replacing them, but recommend the approval of those.
Is there a motion to approve the resignations as presented?
I will make a motion to approve the resignations.
Motion by Lohr, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Moulton. Any questions, comments?
One comment, just if it's a singular extra duty, those are considered open pending suitable replacement.
Okay.
Just a couple of comments. First, do we do any follow-up, just a short exit interview with people who leave to find out why?
We do, yes.
Okay.
They have the opportunity to fill out an exit survey electronically when they.
Who's that? Who reads that? The exit survey?
It comes into the central office and then to the administrator that from the building that they're at.
Do you read them too, or?
It's, you know, unfortunately, it's a very long list, and we're losing a lot of really good people here. That's a concern. I don't necessarily have the answer to it, but I'm just, you know, by
Yeah, it was-
by-
it was,
by talking
un-
to people, you know, maybe we can piece some things together to make sure that this list is not quite as large next year. You know, so I realize some people are moving, you know, geographically relocating, but you know, we're losing some experienced people that are just choosing to leave the profession, and that's unfortunate, I think. Again, I don't have the answer to it, but I mean, I think it's something we need to be cognizant of.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. We've got a motion, we've got a second. Is there an approval for the resignations?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the resignations are accepted. We move to item 6.2.3 with contract recommendations and addendums, please.
So then the list here of recommended hires as well, have had quite a few applicants for a lot of our positions and have done a lot of work over the last month too to replace a lot of those that are leaving us. Added a few more yet today that are also on the list. One that's not listed is Lachelle Jung, on the screen, hired as a special education instructor at the high school. So that list has grown over the last week. But recommend the approval of these contract recommendations and addendums.
Is there a motion to approve as presented?
I make a motion to approve the contract recommendation and addendums.
Motion by Lower, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Iverson. Questions, comments?
Yeah. So new teacher academy, these would be new hires? Obviously.
Yep, or yes, wherever those are listed at, yes, those are new teacher academy, yep, those are the new staff joining us.
And PBIS. Give me the.
Positive behavior intervention system.
Mhm. Does that dovetail into the discipline matrix at all?
Yes. Yeah, they're combined, I would say,
Is-
yes, related to each
okay.
other.
So, I need to read through the discipline matrix, how much teeth is in it. And, cause this, you know, it's been alluded to previously, behavior, we live in a different world. Behavior is an issue, and that's K-12, no question. So simply having a student give an apology over and over and over every time it misbehaves is not necessarily the best solution, and it'd be interesting to see what solutions we have.
Yeah, PBIS is really laying out what behaviors students should be displaying and staff should be seeing in the hallway, in the lunchroom, at PE, at recess, around the building. And so that's what a lot of that is. And then also reaffirming with the students those positive behaviors that are happening. The discipline matrix that was talked about earlier too was just redone this last year with all the building principals and kind of building upon itself. So students do work their way across a matrix more or less with how the discipline is handled if it happens over and over again. So I would say that yes, administration have done that and is available for review.
Are there timeout rooms in the elementary buildings?
Timeout room.
Like a separate room where a disciplined student is set aside for a while?
There might
Or
be
is that-
spots in the
Calm down room.
Calm
Yeah,
down
those are
room.
calm down room. Yeah.
All right. Do we have a first and second in this one?
I need motion.
Well, okay.
Somebody second.
Yep, there has
You
been.
second?
Okay.
I
Yes.
seconded.
Jean seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Item 6.2.4, stipend requests.
So these are all the stipends that we were just talking about a little bit, but I'll kind of scroll through these. These are the pages of staff that'll be working on some things over the summer, everything from driver's ed to curriculum development and review, summer school, new teacher academy, trainings, all of that stuff is laid out on these pages here, recommending your approval for those stipends.
Is there a motion to approve the stipends?
I will make a motion to approve all of the stipends as requested.
Motion by Lors, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Iverson. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Stipends have been approved. Item 6.3.1, consider elementary school concept.
Yeah, I'll wait for Mr. Barrios to get up the executive summary. Okay, we've had, been talking about this at, since the January school board meeting. Been walking through with January, February, and March regular school board meetings. We had a special school board meeting on March 20th and also met individually with the elementary building staff members, had 2 different community listening sessions on this topic, and then brought back in kind of what I would call a first reading at the April board meeting of the plan for partner schools, where we would combine and have 2 pre-K through 1st grade schools and 2 2nd through 4th grade schools over a 3-year transition. Named last month McKinley and Millette as the 2 primary sites, with the pre-K through 1st grade, and Lincoln and Jefferson as the 2 upper elementary sites for 2nd through 4th grade. In the executive summary proposal, I've laid out a 3-year transition. Year 1, 23-24 school year, kindergarten students would not be enrolled at Roosevelt Elementary in the fall of 23 and move to McKinley and Millette. Junior kindergarten and Garfield preschool would also be moved into McKinley and Millette for the 23-24. For the 24-25 school year, that would mean the closure of Roosevelt Elementary, with grades 1 through 4 being dispersed along the continuum related to the final partner school destination. So meaning, depending on which side of that the district they fell on, we would try and move and fit in the 1st through 4th graders from Roosevelt. And then all kindergarten students for the year of 24-25 would start at McKinley and Millette, with year 3 being 25-26, with the full implementation of the partner school model, with students falling along new district boundaries into their schools. We would plan to look at that boundary this fall, along with some of the other procedures that go with enrollments or with registration, such as the intra-district open enrollment, so that we could move along as we go towards kindergarten registration in the spring of 24 for the 24-25 school year. Regardless of the outcome tonight, we feel that junior kindergarten and Garfield preschool can be accommodated into McKinley and Millette for the fall of 23, so we would be planning to move ahead with that. That would free up Garfield, half of Garfield for other purposes. Lake area currently has a daycare, the EduCare program, in one half of Garfield already, and so would hope that maybe we could look at some expansion to assist the community from a daycare perspective with Garfield. So the rest of it has been pretty well discussed. I did have some supporting documents for you at your table tonight, including updated maps that show how
classes could fit into the elementaries when fully implemented. And then a chart that shows where my child would attend, so that would be assistance for current elementary students and then roll into the future. And I would stand by for questions, or if you have other items you'd like me to talk about or discuss.
All right. Excuse me. Is there a motion for item 6.3.1?
I move consideration of elementary school concept.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Questions, comments?
Good. I have comment, I'm sure.
Yeah,
You do
go.
too, Jean.
Yeah.
When this idea was first discussed, and it was maybe one of the first meetings we had in this room, I mean, it was just a few months after I came on the board, co-op architects came and presented. And it was the first time I really became aware of our shrinking numbers at the elementary level, and aware that we may have to look at closing a school. And I, for about 6 months or 6 weeks after that, I was adamantly opposed to the concept. I love the idea of the neighborhood grade schools. Part of it's my own experience. We were fortunate to live a block from a grade school, and for 7 years our kids walked to that elementary grade school. As time went on though, and we looked at more things, the reality is with fewer students, there's fewer state dollars. The COVID money has kind of allowed the board to kick the can down the road for a while. And the reality is, I don't want to cut programs. I think the programs that we have at our elementary schools are good and are necessary. And with fewer numbers, something has to change. Dr. Danielson, you've done due diligence, and multiple times you've said doing nothing is not an option, and that's the easiest thing to do, is to just consider status quo. One of the other things I thought that was real interesting was the map, and Jean has hers along too. And I thought it was just really amazing. We don't really have neighborhood, to some degree, the neighborhood concept doesn't exist the way that it used to exist. I don't know if you have that, Derek. It came from a couple of meetings ago.
The heat map.
I'll look for it. On this map, blue is Lincoln, and I'm looking at the southern half of our school district, and there's all kinds of blue dots there. Yellow is Millette, and there's all kinds of blue dots south of Kemp Avenue, or yellow. So it's really kind of an interesting mix already that we have. So that as much as I love the neighborhood concept, I kind of became aware that for a lot of people that doesn't exist, and maybe that's by choice with open enrollment. There are several reasons why I also came to support the elementary partner school, and I've talked to a number of people, some in support of, some in opposition to it. But one of the things that I like about the plan is that it does allow us to become more efficient when you have all of your first graders in 2 sites. If the numbers are smaller, you can reduce a section, and we seem to have an abundance of openings. So originally I was afraid when we closed the school we're going to end up losing staff, but the intent was to keep the same number of sections. But as you explained to us at one of our meetings, enrollment, I think it was at Millette, the kindergarten numbers were low, and all of a sudden, unless you go out and forcibly tell 20 parents, you have to take your kid to Millette now, because we don't have enough kids in that spot. it gets complicated. But when we have the two sites, I think we can be more efficient. The other reason I like that concept is bringing more teachers together. I learned an awful lot from the fellow social studies teachers that I was with, and that was because they were right next door to me. Workshops and getting together, 2 or 3 times a year is not enough time to share things. Teachers are borrowers. Man, you see somebody else doing something that works, you steal it and you use it, and this, I think, gives us a much better chance to do that. One of the things, Carrie, that you mentioned is that kids are resilient, and I think that's a key thing that helped me come to this. Another thing, and it's kind of the elephant in the room, but there's a perception that there's good schools and other schools that aren't so good, and I know that's not true. I have been in Roosevelt School, I've been in Millette, and I've been in McKinley, and the things that those teachers are doing there are absolutely amazing. It was so impressive to walk into those buildings. But when people come to town, it's kind of, well, you want to get a house in this part of town so your kids can go to this school, and I don't like that perception. It's not accurate, for one, but the unfortunate thing is that perception does exist, and this plan addresses that.
Thank you. You touched on quite a few of the things I have too. Change is difficult. No plan is perfect. This will be a 3-year gradual transition. Roosevelt Building is old. It's 1950s infrastructure. If you walk in the classrooms, they haven't been really updated with a few things other than maybe a sink and some blinds. But it's old. The top floor of Roosevelt is exceedingly hot. It's a poor place to learn, and it's been that way too long. Roosevelt students deserve something better. They deserve newer buildings, newer facilities, better resources. Students from across the district eventually all come together in 5th grade. That's a hard transition. This plan at least lets them to start to blend earlier, make new friends, find new people. I think that's a help. We face, no question, we face competition from parochial schools, homeschooling, surrounding districts. We don't just roll over and play dead. We need to improve also what we offer. There's things that we can improve here as well to draw people in. Transportation will be shuttle buses for like age groups. They'll be chaperoned. As Mr. Iverson mentioned, you'll have the same teachers in the building. Presently, the intermediate school, middle school, high school teachers have an advantage. We can talk to each other because we teach the same thing. You'll have more teachers. You'll have veteran teachers along with young, inexperienced teachers. So you'll have more like grades together, more teachers that are teaching the same thing together, and that's important because we have some big changes coming up. Social studies curriculum in 2025 is going to be a huge change. And it's going to be a big shift in how we teach that, and that's K-12. And those teachers need to share resources, and it also makes it cheaper to buy resources as well. Methods of instruction, lessons, we're borrowers. If he's got a great lesson, I'm going to borrow it. Specialty teachers, music, PE, physical education are going to be more concentrated. They're not going to have to travel. It might help actually schedule daytime academic subjects. Right now, one thing I noticed when I was walking through Roosevelt, math was way at the end in some classrooms, at the end of the day, up on that hot floor. And when you have specialty classes that you're not scheduling in over 5 buildings, 4 buildings instead, it might be easier to schedule some academics in the morning. Who knows? But I think that's a possibility. Principals will be able to concentrate more on curriculum on just a set level. They aren't going to be K through 4, where they have to know a little bit of everything over a whole wide spectrum. So I think that helps too. They'll be able to specialize more in curriculum. Fact is, inflation is with us. Things cost more. It's not going to be cheaper. We have to be mindful of the budget. So those are not necessarily in any order, but it's a long list of factors we have to consider.
I guess this decision has been really hard for me. I've talked to many people, including actually children as well. I went to just to see what their thoughts were on this process as well. But yeah, there's so many pros, there's so many cons, nobody likes change. And I guess it's gonna be kind of a last minute decision for me in the next few minutes, but, as far as the transportation piece, I think I know it's gonna be tough, but like I said, after 2 weeks, you get used to your schedules. Kids moving around, I think that they can adapt to change. It's the adults that maybe can't adapt to change, unfortunately. So those pieces, my biggest concern is that there's enough room for everybody. That's like my biggest concern. Will there be enough room? Are we gonna, get back to that point of where we had to build a new school? And at that point, then do we look at doing that, or do we just stick money into an old school? To me, I guess I'd rather not stick money into an old school and look at a new school in the future if that needs to be the place that we go to. But again, yeah, this has been a very hard decision on me, and I've listened and I've read every email, and I've talked to numerous staff and people within the community, and yeah, it's just there's no easy answer. So.
Okay. I brought some notes just to make sure that I say everything that I want to say and don't say anything that I regret, because I put a lot of time and thought and attention to this. So here goes. This has been one of the bigger decisions that I've been faced with in my nearly 8 years on the school board. Typically, I'm supportive of a vast majority of the recommendations made by the administration team, and I think that they would agree with that statement. I do want to specifically thank Dr. Danielson, Heidi, Mr. Barrios, and the entire admin team for the hours they have invested into researching the partner school concept. And while there has been a formal plan submitted that appears to be well thought out and on its surface would likely succeed, I can't support voting in favor of it at this time. The need to close a school is clear. Declining local birth rates have had an impact on the district's enrollment. While this is likely the biggest driver of lower enrollment, there are certainly other contributing factors causing the decline which need to be addressed as well. Weighing this declining trend along with the inefficiencies of our current grade school arrangement make it clear to me that supporting the closure of a grade school is needed. The closure of a school immediately has an impact and forces change within the district and the community. It should be stated that a vote in favor or against has no impact on my children within the district. Our twins are in kindergarten, and we have a 3rd grader and a 5th grader. The proposed change in timeline will not impact them in any way with the changing of the schools. So throughout my time on the board, I've tried to weigh public input with my best judgment for each situation that arises. And let me say we've received plenty of feedback on this topic, including another email just last night with distinguishing between the vocal minority and the vocal majority can be very difficult at times, and in this case the support for this proposal, at least expressed to me personally or via email, is about 1 in 10. As stated in a previous meeting, I've received support of this concept from well-respected staff within the district. But as the board knows, the overwhelming amount of feedback that we've received, at least through group email and based on a full room of lunch people, has been in opposition. Those in opposition aren't always directly impacted by the proposed changes, but it would be fair to say the majority of those in opposition are impacted in some way. That doesn't necessarily mean that this concept shouldn't be passed or considered. It's our job to make a good long-term decision, even if this may cause some short-term disruptions or inconveniences. As I've deliberated back and forth on this topic, I've reminded myself numerous times that change is hard and that not all change is bad. but we need to make a sound decision. But we need to make a sound decision and not make a change just to make a change. And certainly, we shouldn't rush a decision that has such wide-ranging changes that impact the entire community. So with that said, I can't support the partner school concept at this time. In order to make the best decision possible, an alternative proposal or proposals with an equal amount of effort put forth into researching the pros and cons and solutions to the challenges should be given to the board consider. To this point, we've been given one fully vetted option. This decision has too big of an impact to only consider one option, and when the only option that has been fully presented to the board is an option that isn't widely known, proven, or tested, in my humble opinion, we aren't doing our due diligence as a board without alternatives to consider. I'm fully aware there are pros and cons to every proposal, including doing nothing. Regardless of the outcome of the vote, I will be supportive of the district and the board's decision. I have a high degree of respect for the various backgrounds of those serving on this board. Their unique insight has helped me through this process too. Leaning on my business background, I don't believe the board is in a position to make a sound decision on this significant of a change without another fully vetted proposal to consider. And if and when another proposal is put forth, please keep in mind it is certainly possible that I could end up being the biggest supporter of the partner school concept.
Just as a side to that, I did attend every single meeting, took a whole notebook full of notes, got an entire folder full of notes here. My emails have been very positive from staff, so I guess it kind of depends who the person is writing to as well.
Mine have all been positive too, but then I hear a lot of negative. So it's very, not negative, not in support of it. So that's where I'm just having the tough decision of, do we need to look at different options before we just make the big change? I'm not sure.
I think some of the other options were presented and there were negatives with those as well.
Well, and then the other option too is, you know, will the community like if we stick with, you know, neighborhood schools, that map isn't gonna be how it's gonna be. I mean, you're gonna be truly going to your neighborhood school. So families need to think about that too, because
I'm fine with that.
yeah, you can't open and roll anymore. So
I think that's what we should do.
yeah, and I 100% agree as well. I mean,
And to me, that's where again, where's the fully vetted proposal?
draw the boundaries a little bit just to see then where we have to go.
Because again, we're not. It's my opinion only. I don't feel like we're doing our due diligence as a board with this big of a change with one fully vetted option. Yes, we've talked about other options. We've had pros and cons, but it's been 2-minute conversations. It hasn't been full-blown proposals with options proposed with addressing those challenges like we've had with the partner school concept. We haven't had that to the same degree. And maybe I'm in the minority and that's okay, but I just personally feel like this big of a decision warrants other options to consider before moving forward.
One of the things we're probably looking for is some clarity tonight, no matter what the decision, but we have had our kindergarten roundup. We've been holding off on notifying kindergarten parents where they're enrolling. That obviously can be delayed as well, but
You're talking about the Roosevelt kindergarten.
we haven't notified any
Any.
at this point. Just because depending on, you know, a decision, it might depend, you know, it factors into where people lie, so obviously if the partner school plan is accepted or an announcement is made on a school closure, there's one direction with that. If nothing is decided, at some point we have to start moving as if all 5 elementary schools are remaining open. It doesn't mean that the decision can't be made next year to still go ahead with it, but
We lose time.
yes.
Yep, I get that. So again, understand, board, just because you would vote no tonight does not mean no, it can never happen. My plea to the board is let's buy ourselves some more time with getting another option to consider so that we can make a decision. And if it is a partner school concept, then so be it, but let's have some fully vetted options to consider before making such a big decision. So a vote for no tonight doesn't mean no, it can never happen, but just not right now.
I think I might look at it a little bit different. It's interesting how your perspective changes. If this had been presented 15 years ago as somebody who lived next to a grade school, I would have been definitely opposed to this, because that would not have been good for me or for us, I guess. But my perspective's different now as a board member. I kind of got to look big picture here, what I think is best long-term for the district. I think the fact that it's a 3-year plan would give us the time next year, if we come up with something that is different, we can tweak this. I mean, we're not carved in stone that this is the final way it's going to look. But I think we need to start moving. I feel terrible for the staff at Roosevelt, because that's a great group of people there. And they're kind of blowing in the wind, wondering if their school is going to be around, or when it's going to close, or how it's going to close. So one of the reasons I like going forward with this is it does chart a course and ends some of the uncertainty. And with the 3-year plan, we do have some time in there if we need to tweak things and make things different. I think one of the reasons the other concepts weren't considered in as much depth is, at least the ones that were presented to us, is they all had some glaring weaknesses to them. And I thought that this plan had less problems than the other, some of the other concepts that were presented.
I would concur with that. I think Partner School has more positives than the others. And that's this chart right here. Particularly benefiting Roosevelt students, curriculum, teachers, instruction, class sizes, specialty of principals. And it's a 3-year plan. We can adapt, tweak.
Can we vote tonight for just closing the school down?
Yeah, this isn't open public
Or
comment.
get it proposed the next time? Seems like there's everything that's just kind of bunched into this one, and it's or pick the lesser of 2 evils.
Any other questions or comments?
If I'm looking at this chart correctly, if you look at what year your student would graduate, for many students, they don't move that much. They pretty much stay in the same building.
That would be for the
For
current
current
ones.
students.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
ones that once they start,
Yep.
if the
Mhm.
partner school plan was implemented, there would be the
Yes.
2 buildings from pre-K 1 and 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I don't disagree, you guys. There's all kinds of pros, but there's cons to it too.
I like the concept of the kids being younger and then going in 2, 3, 4. I'm just, like I said, again, if, I know we need to move forward, but if we also pick this, I know we can maybe tweak, but you can't tweak it a lot. So, it's just gonna be this concept. I don't think we can change the concept. Regardless, it's gonna take a couple years to get it all tweaked out anyway, but I don't know, it's just a big decision.
mean, I do think you have the ability to modify the motion if there's parts that can be agreed upon and the whole concept is what needs to be studied. That would be up to you if you chose to not accept it as a whole and, only chose part of it. That if it's, that is your prerogative. It does not have, it's on the agenda as that, but it does not to be adopted as a whole.
So meaning we could modify it to where we do close a school, or not quite that drastic?
You could.
So separate the two. We could vote to close a school, but
Right, because right now, as I understand it, the motion and second was to adopt the 3-year implementation as presented.
right.
You could parse that motion or amend the motion. If a majority agreed to that, that is possible.
But yeah, even that, I mean, has such wide-ranging scenarios that aren't really, again, fully vetted out. As much as I would be in favor of that to stall this from moving forward, I can't support that from my own comments of not having that idea fully vetted either. So, but I mean, someone else is certainly able to make that motion. Those are just my comments. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Well then, we've got a motion and a second. Due to the nature of the discussion, is it appropriate to ask for a roll call vote?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you call that off, or do I?
I can.
She does.
Okay.
So notation of a roll call vote, I will ask for each board member to state their vote. I'll just go down the line. Lore,
Nay.
Stein,
No. Nay.
Moulton,
Aye, yes.
and Iverson.
Yes.
Okay, being that we have 2 noes and 2 yeses, the motion dies.
Okay. We'll move along to item 6.4.1, dairy products.
Okay. It is recommended to approve the bid received from Prairie Farms for the supplying of dairy products for the 23-24 school year.
So
Is there-
moved.
Yep, is there a motion to approve? Okay, motion by Iverson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Moulton, questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 6.4.1 is approved. Item 6.4.2, paper products.
It is recommended to approve the bid received from Paper 101 for the supplying of paper products for the 23-24 school year.
Is there a motion to approve the paper products recommendation?
I move we approve the bid from paper 101.
Motion by Moulton, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Lohr, questions, comments?
Where is paper 101? Okay, I haven't heard of them before.
Sioux Falls.
Okay.
We've got our motion and we've got our second. Is the questions, comments? Any additional question, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion has been approved. Item 6.5, consider large school board of education member.
Yes, we only have one person that was nominated for that, Randy Hartman from Pier, recommending that for approval.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Iverson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Moulton, questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Item 6.6, consider Division III representative.
Yes, we have 3 individuals recommending Adam Shaw from Madison High School.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
I move we approve the recommendation as presented. Adam Shaw.
We have a motion by Moulton, second by Lohr. Is there any dialogue, questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's been approved. Item 6.7.1, amendment number 1.
Yes, this is an amendment from the Activity Association to clarify further on the recruitment guidelines for athletes from one school to the other. There is not supposed to be recruitment of athletes from one high school to another, but in the event there is, this helps to clarify what might be out of bounds. I recommend approval of the amendment.
Is there an approval for amendment number 1?
So moved.
Motion by Iverson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Moulton. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 6.7.1 has been approved. Item number 6.7.2, amendment number 2.
Yes, this one is related to ejections, and again is tightening up how that is administered and recommending that for your approval as well.
Is there a motion for amendment number 2?
I'll make a motion to approve amendment number 2.
Motion by Lohr. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Iverson. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Amendment number 2 has been approved. Item 6.8.
Yes, this is the budget hearing. So the annual budget hearing will be set for the regular July meeting at the district office. This is the time in which the community can comment on the proposed budget. The modifications made to the preliminary budget to the budget hearing will also be highlighted. So that is July 10th, 2023 at 5 p.m.
This still requires a motion to approve? Is that
No.
Yeah.
Yep, that is a
Yes,
motion.
please set that.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve that date?
I move approval of the date as presented.
Motion by Moulton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Iverson. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That date has been set. Item 6.9.1, open enrollments.
Yes, we have 2 open enrollments recommended for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve the open enrollments as presented?
I move we approve the open enrollments as presented.
Motion
Second.
Motion by Moulton, second by Iverson. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion has been approved. Item 6.9.2, 132810s.
Yes, no 13/20/10s this month.
Okay, we'll move on to item 7.1 with administrative reports.
Yeah, just a couple reminders I mentioned during the student and staff recognition. This is Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. Just for staff, we are meeting after school on Wednesday. Got some walking and apple nachos for our staff on Wednesday, so excited about that, about apple nachos. My understanding it is not tortilla chips with apples on top, so it's better than that, I think. Caitlin's got a better setup for us. Then a reminder to the public and all involved of the retirement open house on Wednesday, May 17th, 3:45 to 5 o'clock right here in the Commons. Please come and join and celebrate this year's retirees. Graduation on May 28th at 2 p.m. here at the Civic Arena. And then just, I'll put out some more information as we get near, but one of the things that we are doing on May 30th is a large-scale crisis response drill that'll be at Watertown High School. I'll put out a little more information, just not to alarm anybody if we have, we are working in partnership with the Watertown PD, Prairie Lakes Hospital, Fire and Rescue, and the county on a fairly large-scale crisis response drill with our staff for one of our makeup days on May 30th. So, and the last day of school, Friday, May 26th, 12:30 dismissal for students. So we got 3 weeks left.
Got the snow days all made up.
Yes, a big thank you. Actually, the extra 30 minutes has gone over fairly well. Have heard quite a few positives, but some certain positives, like it's actually easier to get kids there at 8:15 than 8:30 for some reason. So some of those sort of things. So we really appreciate the work of the parents, students, and our staff on accommodating that. And when I talk to some of my other superintendent peers that are going after Memorial Day, I think most of our folks will be glad on the 26th at 12:30.
Item 7.2, board report to the superintendent. Anybody have anything?
We have an election coming up.
Yes. We will have a school board election on June 20th.
Are you able to say the names?
And petitions, petitions are due to our office on Friday, May 12th, so this week,
5 o'clock, right?
5 o'clock.
All right.
I have something else too.
Okay.
This goes along with considering changing elementary plans. We obviously face competition, as I mentioned before, ProCo schools, homeschooling, other surrounding schools. We also, there's things we can do to improve what we offer. One of those that I think is really crucial is what do we do about behavior? It's a society-wide problem. It's something we all face. So it's hard to find solutions, but we can't stop. Secondly, for years we've been bemoaning low test scores. In fact, elementary students are forced into an arithmetic curriculum that often frustrates them, for the most part, creates a hatred for math. Further divides parent and child. Because a parent has learned to do arithmetic quickly, efficiently, and not with Common Core math. Instead of being taught quick methods of calculation, elementary children are often being taught Common Core theoretical math. It's long, time-consuming steps to find an answer. Common Core teaches theoretical math to the wrong age group. It is not a teaching problem solving. It teaches frustration. Younger students' brains, I feel, are better geared to memorization and systems that achieve quick answers. Quick math algorithms are a better process, what we would call traditional math, and many of us in this room learned math that way. Sad fact is that students come to us from other states and countries. They've learned to do math quickly, efficiently, or told, no, you have to use our methods, theoretical Common Core method. It's frustrating and pointless. This summer, the math curriculum meets. It is my position that Common Core math needs to die, needs to go away. Teachers have long complained to me how frustrating it is to teach young students these methods, how frustrated parents are trying to work with their own students through systems that are complicated, could be much simpler. Thirdly, question, does this district support merit? Does this district encourage and reward achievements and excellence? Report cards for kindergarten through 4th grade do not, in my opinion. Only 3 scores exist on the report card: below proficient, approaching proficient, and proficient. A 4th column exists on the report card, but is not used. There is no reward or score for achieving at a higher level. Teachers tell me constantly that students just shut down. Why work to a higher level when I've just gotten 60% or 70%? I can just quit. There is no reward or incentive. We simply can't sit here and complain about low enrollment numbers or declining enrollment numbers without also looking internally, what can we do better? There's things we can do to make excellence for our students, student performance, and ourselves. And I've just given you a few examples. And Mr. President, I ask that my comments be entered into the minutes.
Heidi, you got that?
She will need to send that to me.
I'll send it to her.
Okay. All right, moving on to item 8, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Everson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Moulton. Questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.